Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Hi, my love. Before we dive into this week's podcast episode, I want to tell you about a super fun, juicy prize giveaway that I am offering to podcast listeners only. Yes, that's you. You can submit to win one of the awesome prizes that I am going to be giving away very soon. So let me tell you about it. All you have to do is rate and review this podcast. Let me know what you love about it. Let me know if there's something that's landed for you. Take a screenshot of your review and submit it in the link that we have in the show notes. And once you submit it, you're submitting to win one of the prizes. So once I reach 100 podcast reviews, I'm going to be doing the prize draw, and we're going to be giving away 10 different super juicy gifts, everything from one-on-one sessions with me to Amazon gift cards with a list of all my favorite money and manifestation books so that you can buy them. I'm going to be giving away manifestation goodies like oracle decks and my favorite abundance candles and crystals, all kinds of awesome prizes. And all you have to do is take literally 1 minute of your time after you listen to this episode to go leave a rating and review, submit it, and then let me know that you did it in the link in the show notes and start manifesting your win. All right. Thank you so much. This really helps expose the podcast, and it really is my mission to get this heard by as many people that need it. So I super appreciate you. Now on to the episode. All right, everyone, I have a super special guest this episode that I'm so excited to introduce you to. I actually just met her recently. She became a new client, but oh my gosh, have I been inspired by her? And I asked her to come on and share her story. So I have Hales, the Orgasm Babe, herself here live with me to share just her story, to share what she does, and to share the embodiment of a principle that I teach over and over, but I think it's one of those that it is for so many people so much harder to actually live and implement and bring into their lives than we realize, right? It's one of those that it takes so much courage to practice this one foundation of manifestation, and Hales is incredible. She is an example of this. Her coming to the retreat this past month was an example of this. And that's why I wanted to have her come on and unpack how she did it, unpack her thinking. And the concept really is that I'm always teaching is how to not let your circumstances dictate what's possible for you, right? How to not get bogged down with your current circumstances, or even if you do get bogged down by them, how to not act from that place, how to create a vision that's beyond it and take action in a way that's beyond that. And Hales shared her story at the retreat, which this was just 2-3 weeks ago. It was our first time meeting. And I think she had everyone at the retreat in tears. We were all just so inspired. So I'm like, Haley, I got to get you on the podcast. So here is Haley. Can you please introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about you and what you do. And then we want to dive into your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. So, hey, everybody, I'm Hales, the Orgasm Babe. I am the orgasm coach who likes to, which we will dig plenty into about energy. And I really think too, like you were talking about, how a lot of what you teach is this, and it's the hardest thing. manifesting and working on the energy for basically the sex life that you want, because I focus on working with women with their sexual energy and not just sex tips. The sex tips are fun. The sex tips are great. And we definitely go there, but it ends up not being about the orgasm, right? Just like it's not always about the money. It is about the woman creating the orgasm, just like it's about the woman and the person who is creating the money. So that is the essence of what I do. And it's so much fun.
That is amazing. And I feel like everyone's going to want to learn all the things and all about that. That is incredible. I love it so much. And like I was sharing, we just met. I mean, you might have met me like through my posts or my events before this, but we just met in person and actually got in contact for the first time just like 3 weeks ago at our New Year's manifestation retreat, where Haley came to. And, you know, it was one of those things where I think a lot of people think, oh, well, when it's easy for me to make an investment like that in myself, or when it makes sense, then I'll invest, then I'll go, then I'll do the thing. But for you, right, given your circumstances at the time where you were thinking about coming, it didn't totally make logical sense that this should be the next step for you, right? Are you open to sharing a little bit more about where you were at before the retreat, what it was that sparked your interest, why maybe some people would say it doesn't make logical sense to do that, and how you overcame that? I know that was a lot of questions, but...
No, it was. Well, if I need any help, I'll just ask you again. Where should I take this next? But yes, I'm a sex coach. I'm open to sharing everything and anything. So let's get into all the dirty details. So yeah, it didn't make, and even as you were saying that, even for me, myself, I was getting emotional hearing that, because it still feels like an out-of-body experience, because, you know, we kind of have that liminal space where we don't really see ourselves as a certain person, but we're still taking the action, and it's like we really are, and it's just this crazy experience. So for me to hear that, it's like, holy shit, like I did that, and like I can do that, and I'm capable of that. It's just so cool. And so I'm just adding that just so that people know that there's still, like, I'm not up here being like some, like, maybe who's just like, oh, this is just easy and I'm doing this, you know, right along with the context of what you were saying with a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's easy if you have the ability to invest or you have the resources to invest. But yeah, taking it back to the beginning of before the retreat. So before the retreat, I had already been kind of doing the same kind of taking like illogical action considering my circumstances. I had a baby in October. I decided to go ahead and file for divorce during that postpartum stage, within being a month, and not only during postpartum, with being in like a month or two of postpartum, but also right around the holidays in the middle of that. So none of that made sense. And then as I was going through that, it was that same kind of energy that I had when I knew the retreat was coming. Now, when you had first talked about the retreat and kind of put it out there, I instantly knew it was something I wanted to be at, because as I knew that I wanted to be taking this quantum leap and becoming someone different, because even my divorce, that's something that I have been wanting to take action on for so long. But whoever feels ready to take action on a divorce, that's scary, no matter what you are, you know, like how much happier you think or how good you're like, this is a good decision. People don't even need to be sorry for me. This is for the best. It doesn't matter. That's such a scary process, especially since, let's add to the illogic, is that even a word? I'm not sure, but pretty sure people understand what I'm saying.
We'll just say it is.
Illogic. We're adding this to the illogic, but I was a stay-at-home mom. Like, I hadn't been coaching or working or making money in a good year and a half. And even before that, fall of 2022 was when I kind of started my coaching and massage both and making money. And it only lasted for fall of 22, because then I got pregnant and very sick and instantly quit everything. I physically could not work because I was throwing up every single day. So I have not been working, not making money. So it's not like I had this own business account of mine that had a cushion to leave the marriage. So it's like I was stay-at-home mom, no money of my own, quotes, of course, around that. And going through a divorce, being newly postpartum, which means having a new baby. But it's like, I knew that, like when I said these things that I wanted, there's a lot of them that I waited for so long. I have just come to a point now where nothing is optional anymore. I am not playing small. And even using that phrase sounds so understated. It's just and this is like what I work with the women that I do the work with, and what the kind of change I want to make in their lives too, is putting themselves first as a woman, before they're labeled as a mom, before they're labeled as a wife, before anything, and being willing to say that I'm worth it, because my worth isn't actually even in the equation, but I'm worth it to go ahead and invest in myself. And not only that, but invest in myself that helps me go after the dreams and desires that I want to go after. And so then I knew the retreat was coming up. And of course, like I said, when I first saw that you posted it and like told everyone that you were hosting it, I thought, man, I'd really love to go over there, but like probably I won't. But at the same time, it was like this deep knowing of like, I know that I want to go and I'm meant to be there. And as the time got closer, I was just like, I'm going and I'm going to just figure it out. And no, it didn't make sense with a baby and no money. And I could have been spending money, and I had moved out of the house, our marital home, and moving in with my parents. And again, there wasn't even the child support yet or anything of that. Like, that's still something we're working through. So it wasn't like I got half of the assets of our house and had all this money. But I'm like, I know that if I want to get to where I'm going and the vision that I have for myself, it's not going to happen by me waiting. Like, I'm not just going to like get there or wait. And what I'm like, this happens now. She happens now. She knows what she's going to do now. And she would be going to the retreat, even if she has all this money and has the $1 million business and full clients and making a huge impact. It's like, I want her to happen now and be here now. So I'm willing to make it work. And of course, you and I talked beforehand, and I kind of told you what was going on. And you just had such belief in me, even though I went about paying for it, like paying full price, but paying for it slightly differently. Like, you created enough space for me and belief, but also like held that sort of like, I can up level and rise up through the discomfort of taking the action and just making it happen. And I totally did. And it was funny because when I first got to the resort and my card wasn't working for like my stay there, it wasn't working. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And it was almost like the universe was just like saying like, here, practice this again. Who are you going to be? How can you show up to make this happen instead of sleep under a palm tree and not make this mean something about you? Because of course I just wanted to make it mean everything about me. Like, yep, I'm helpless. Yep, I need help again from somebody else. And I went, but I used I was like, no, there's money literally all around me. I've got money. I've got tons of cash in my wallet. I've got cash. I've got cards. My outfit is so much money. There's money. I literally have money everywhere. It's just not on the right card. And it's super late at night and I can't transfer over. So I ended up figuring things out and I got it. And it's just all these different experiences that made me have to like up level and rise up is exactly why I left the retreat. Again, you asked me a lot of questions, so you're going to have to ask me anything specific after this. Totally. But that is the huge reason why I was able to just keep practicing that discomfort and leaning in and taking that leap of faith. Because like you always talk about, it's not about waiting and being ready for anything. Was it on like the call that you did yesterday, the open coaching, that anything epic that you've created was always done before you were ready. And so that is like, I've made myself addicted to that feeling now of like doing it before I'm ready, not from like an irresponsible place of like, well, I just need all this different stuff to make, like, otherwise I won't be great without it. It's like, no, from this embodied, grounded, I trust myself. It is scary. And I know this is exactly where I need to go next in order to get where I'm going.
Oh my gosh. Hales. Oh my God. I have chills. I have tears in my eyes. It's just like to witness your power is unbelievable.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like I said, even me overhearing it and saying it, it's like, especially, of course, the only thing I didn't bring to my table right now is tissues, but to look at who I was 5 years, like even a couple years ago, but 5 years ago and 10 years ago, it just like even though like here I am living back with my parents at 28 years old with 3 kids and going through a divorce. Like I was telling my sisters the other day when I was like moving my stuff around in my room, I'm like, I had started having flashbacks of like being on the phone with an ex-boyfriend that I dated in high school. I'm like, wow, at that point, I sure never imagined being here at 10 years. You know, when you graduate your senior year, they're like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And they put it in the newspaper article. I was like, not here, not here. But also, like, at the same time, like, I'm also not making this mean everything. I'm like, at the same time, this is so powerful for me, again, to do, because I'm still trusting in myself and still choosing myself. Like, I could say, I'm just going to stay in my cozy little place where I'm married and I've got beautiful kids and a husband who makes a lot of money and he just hands over the card. But no, I left. I don't have the marital home. I'm moving back in with my parents. I don't have any child support yet or any assets. Like, I have no money technically, but it's like, here I still am. And I'm just like, wow, I am so proud of who I have become. And I remember on the way home from the retreat too, when I was writing down some of my power thoughts. One of them, you know, like you had kind of triggered this on the podcast that you did about them, but just like, I love my life. But I felt that in my bones. I was like, and so that's one of my power thoughts I look at every day now was, and it's a little bit longer than just I love my life, but it's like, I love my life. I really love my life and everything I've done for myself. I really love my life.
Oh my God. I'm going to cry this whole episode. I'm just thinking about this, and I'm thinking about not only the gift that you're giving to yourself through all this courage, but like also what you're giving to your kids as an example. This is not what most kids see, you know? And I'm crying because it's not what I saw. And this is why I've had to do so much work around money, because so much of my childhood was, unfortunately, my mom staying small, staying in situations that were really unhealthy, toxic, right? Because she didn't believe in her own power. She didn't believe she could create money. She believed she had to be with a man to have money, right? And so situation after situation, it was just awful. And it was literally, I'm like, man, if my mom only had had that one thought of like, I have power, you know, and it doesn't look like it, right? Just like you, it's like, it doesn't make sense, right? I don't have assets. I don't have money, right? But it's like, when you take that courageous action and you just go before you're ready, the universe provides a net, right? It's like the universe provides a net, and you've been seeing this over and over. It's like you didn't have the money to go to the retreat, but you decided to ahead of time. I'm just wondering, like, how did that happen? Were you actually, what was your thought process? Was it, I'm going to create it? I'm just curious.
Well, first I started by figuring out, how do I have money around me right now? Like, where do I actually have money? Because again, like, I could have cried too, just like listening to you say, like, there are so many different episodes that could come out of everything that's being said that could be dove into deeper. But one of the things that I remember thinking was like, in my marriage, and again, like, it's not that I want to talk bad about my husband or talk bad or like make anyone look a certain way, but just as facts lay for me, in my marriage, I never felt as an equal, and the money was never mine, which, yes, the money was never mine as a feeling, but it's also a reason that assets and child support isn't split. I still get along. I still care about him, but there's a reason, because his mindset is also, I'm not an equal. It doesn't belong to me. And so I decided to start changing that. In that moment, I'm like, I want to go. There is no reason I can't. And instead of looking at all the reasons why I shouldn't, I started looking for every single reason on why the fuck I should. This is why I should go, because this money is mine here. I do have this money. He was going to be leaving for a 7-day Texas trip to hunt wild hogs 2 weeks after I was going to be a week after I was going to be getting back from the retreat. And so I'm like, well, he's going and he's using our money to go on that. So why should I not have that? And so what I did was, again, looking at all the reasons. And then I decided I'm also, which I had told like you too before, when I said I wanted to come, and I was thinking of ways that I could make money. Like, I know how to do massages, so I can start doing it, because that was a really hard thing too, was my baby was only a month and a half he was really like a month and a half when I started thinking about this and thinking about really deciding to go. And so to start jumping back into working and trying to figure out babysitting and making money, there was like all these things. And so I was like, well, I know I can do massages, and because that's something I was doing beforehand. And I know I can do that. And so I thought of ways to make money, and thought of ways like, how do I have like money resources for right now? And at first I thought of like my parents happy to give me money. So I thought about asking my mom. And so and because that's something too, right? It's not just about creating the money directly. It's also about receiving resources that you have. And that's super uncomfortable. And I could have made that mean so much about me. And again, in the whole, like, I really need this help and I'm just helpless and people always have to help me out. But I was like, no, I'm going to invest in the support for myself as a postpartum woman who's also going to make total bank as I go and be a millionaire and make so much money that I will just pay them back in huge amounts, even if they don't ask me, and spoil the shit out of them. So I remember I told my mom, and she was like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that tomorrow. I'm like, no, we didn't need to do this like now. Like, I am ready now. We need to do this now. And so I didn't feel like talking to her about it again. And so then I just had the thought of like my brother, and just saying and just seeing it. So he had like walked in at that time, like we're like to the house, and stopped in to say hi. And I was like, hey, can I use your, and even the energy I did that from, I wasn't like, hey, so like, I'm wondering, I want to do this thing. I was like, hey, I'm wondering, can I borrow your card for something and then I will pay you back with it? And he literally whipped it out. He didn't ask me how much, nothing. He just laid it down. He's like, sure. And then he walked out of the house and left. Like, he didn't even wait for me to give the card back. And it's like, I made sure to celebrate that and take that, because it would have been a completely different situation if I would have shown up in a different energy on that. Right. But I was just like, hey, like, this is so chill. Like, of course I'm going to be paying you back. And so it builds that trust. And he's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I did that. And then I started making money and already started paying him back. And I was just like paid him back right away. And it came so fast. And so it was like just having that trust that I can make things happen. And then also, so it was like both, right? I can make things happen and I can create money. And at the same time, I can receive support. And I was able to go.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. And that is an example of resourcefulness, right? This is the example of what I really, am consistently working on helping people tap into, is their resourcefulness. While it doesn't seem like circumstances are aligned with it, it's like that, like you said, money is everywhere. Resources are everywhere, and we are going to see what we look for. If you look for how you can't afford it, if you look for how it won't work, if you look for how it's going to be really hard, you will absolutely find that. But if you say, how could I make it happen? How could I make it work? Even if it doesn't seem like it makes sense, there's no way you won't find a solution. And that's what you did. It's incredible. And then I'm curious, what was the effect of that? Like, when you actually came to the retreat, what happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear your story.
Oh, yes. Like, I can just feel it all washing over me right now. Something I need to put in here right now is, everybody listening, go to every retreat. Make it happen. I will from now on be at every single retreat. Like, it is part of my business plan and part of like my own life plan, whatever you want to call it, to every 6 months, I'm at a retreat, whether it's yours or it's somebody else's. I mean, I'm going to be at every single one of yours specifically, but even adding on top of that, like, I just need to be one every 6 months. But anyway, so getting there, like I said, it up-leveled me so much. As soon as so like you, I'm from the Midwest. And I'm in a very small town and very small-minded. And I've always noticed that as soon as I kind of get out of the house, like my mind, or even if it's just an hour away into the city of Sioux Falls, my mind already is able to expand and I feel more aligned with myself. But just that plane ride on the way, I can feel the feeling now. It's just like this overall vibration that just starts happening, and energy that I can feel in my body. And I literally was looking out the window, and the thought came into my head, things are changing. Things are happening. And then I get there, and I had like my little issues there, and then I couldn't find my bungalow. I was like walking in the dark in the middle of the night trying to find my bungalow. And so that was really pissing me off. But then like once I got in, I resettled and everything. And then the next day came, and that day was just so amazing. And honestly, the first day too, though, which I think a lot of people experience this, is by the end of that first day, I was almost drained because there was so much emotion. And at first, because it was like amazing at the first part of the day. And then towards the end of the day, I was like, wow. But the reason I felt that is because there was so much deep change happening. And so that first night, I don't remember if I went out to eat or not. I think I did end up going out to eat, but I definitely chilled for a bit. I was like, I need a moment, because this was like, because even after eating, I could have gone back and I was like, oh, I'm, so inspired for so many podcast episodes and posts and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I need to just decompress. And that mix of having that big day and then having that rest, the next day I woke up and I was like, I am the orgasm babe. I am the orgasm coach. I am amazing. It was just like, I could just feel it. Like it no longer was like, because I remember even when some of the different exercises we went through, I remember just kind of being in that liminal space of like, this feels really uncomfortable. I don't know. And can I really do this? And it just felt like, oof. And that next day it was like, oh, bitch, please. No, like, this is just like who I am. It's so simple. And I think everybody felt that there. I mean, especially when we did like the very, like the end, like the ending ceremony or whatever we called it. Everyone was just like, yeah, like, this is just who I am now. Like, we just kept saying that, like, I'm so-and-so and I'm this and I'm that and I'm a celebrity and I'm the orgasm babe and I'm the rich single moms woman, all these things. It was just so cool. And also what I loved being there, like it was so powerful. It didn't matter if we were doing an actual activity of highest vision or going through the journal, or if we were doing hot seat coaching, or if we were standing around the bonfire together at night, just chit-chatting. Every single thing, like I have chills right now thinking about it. Every single thing was so impactful and powerful because you are practicing and seeing yourself as your highest version and vision in that moment. So like, yep, I'm this person who makes $1 million just standing around a fireplace visiting with like all these amazing women. And it just makes it be so normal. And then also hearing about everyone's, when we were talking at the bonfire about everyone's past stuff that they've done in the past, we're all laughing about that, everything like, oh, look at me. This was like my first course and look at me this long ago, and like bringing up all the pictures and different things. And it makes you believe more in what you can do, because we look at you now and we look at every other woman who was there now having 50K months and 30K months and doing all this stuff. And they started out with these crazy courses where we're like, did you actually sell that? Like, you got people to buy that shit? You put that on out into public. Okay. But it like brings us together more, and we can say, oh, well, I know I've had embarrassing moments. I know I felt stupid doing this stuff, or I feel small, or I didn't get a lot of likes on this, or like nobody's listening to me. I had crickets and whatnot. So did you, Jamie. So did every other woman there. And now look at what they're doing, because they keep going and they keep putting themselves first. And like, that's my thing now, is to just let these happen like faster and faster and closer together and keep feeling that discomfort. And there's always new, like, I don't necessarily feel really powerful every day in the moment. Like every single day, I still have this doubt. Like, can I really do this? Here I am. I'm in my old bedroom and it doesn't feel like, but I still keep moving through it. And there's levels that I have to keep going through. Like even now, again, like my business that I have rebranded and reopened and coming out as people know in the past that I've always had something to do with pelvic health and sexual health. But to decide being the orgasm babe and even letting my vision board sit out on my nightstand and having like my mom walk in and my sister walk in and my brother walk in, and my brother like grabbed it and he was like, the orgasm babe? And I was like, yeah. And even in that moment, it's like, I'm like, that's another opportunity to let that wash over me and then decide this is still why, no matter what you think or what anybody else thinks. Like, that's super vulnerable. But it just builds my ability to have confidence and courage in myself. And even though I don't feel powerful every moment, it's like, no, we keep bringing it closer and closer. And that, like, even in my own business, it's like I compare it to the orgasms, right? When someone like doesn't have orgasms very often and they're not very intense and they're like trying to get them and it just doesn't happen. It's like, that's what we're going to create for you, sex specifically, but then also just like the climaxes in life, because the climax is, when you look at it as far as someone's story, it's the turning point of a story. And so it's like, you're coming and we're going to do basically, we're doing orgasm coaching, but we're also doing climax coaching. Because again, it's about the woman creating the orgasms, a woman who is asking for what she wants. And that ripple effects into the rest of her life. And we're going to do the same thing where all the climaxes are closer and closer, more intense, more closer together, all the things. And then we just like, it's just the whole quantum leap and the manifestation in like the best, most mind-blowing ways.
Oh my gosh. Did you decide on that at the retreat then? The orgasm babe, or was that? Oh my God. I thought that's just who you always were. Like, no, I didn't realize this was like a retreat insight.
Mm-hmm. All of it was just because I was able to step into who I was and who I really wanted to be. And that's another thing that is so powerful as far as my sex coaching, but then just in general for women, is to be able to declare your desires, which we did and did a lot of talking about at the retreat, of like being willing to have a safe space to say first, this is my desire, and everyone hold that for you. And then you can feel safe, step into that, and then you can go and bring that out in the world to say, this is my desire. And then that's when it starts happening faster and faster because you keep aligning with it more and more, right? And so having that space to really feel safe to express that, but then when that safety is there, I have the creativity as well. Because for a long time, I struggled a long time with my niche because one, I knew I wanted to be closely on sex, but I'm in the Midwest. The town I live in has 1,500 people. Actually, it just went down 300 people. They redid the population sign. Like, the mindset around here is no. And all the people from like where I went to high school with, which that was a bad experience. Like, I don't even go into the town anymore. So it's like, but all these people could see me on Facebook. They'll know what I do. It's scary and it's super vulnerable. And again, a reason I do this and I'm so passionate about sex is because I have a lot of experience with it myself. So it's already vulnerable enough, but now people are going to be learning through my story. That means I'm putting it out in public. Like, talk about another thing of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I struggled a long time with my niche, and I kind of just like, well, we're just focusing on pelvic floor because that's more scientific. And I never really knew what I was doing. But being able, again, to be in that space at the retreat, it was like the creativity and the stepping. I'm like, nope, I'm the orgasm babe. And this is what I'm really doing. Because again, I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm really doing because it's a little bit of both. I'm not just giving sex tips. Like, I am, because that's so fun to talk about and to do. But at the same time, it's like, I'm also all about having a woman remember who the hell she is and push boundaries and push past discomfort and challenge ideas and challenge things. Like, when I picture the woman from beginning to end, I'm not just picturing her having orgasms all the time, like, woohoo, like, that's great. But I picture her posture is different. She is different. She's showing up different and deciding what she wants and going after it and making it happen. And so all at the retreat, all that was able to come up, and I've just been rolling with it since. And there have been nights where I go to bed, I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this. But then I wake up and I'm like, no, this is just so aligned. And I just love it so much.
Well, I just thought that's who you were. Like, that's just how I see it, right? Like, I had no idea it was brand new, right? That's amazing. And it makes so much sense because it's like, that's the person you literally stepped into through this process. is
Yes.
who the orgasm babe is and who she's for, right? It's like you're teaching women to be that person, whether it's in the bedroom or outside of it. Like you're being that person, you know? It's just, it's chilling. It's amazing. Did you, I'm just curious, did you have some sort of like after having the baby, or was there something that kind of woke you up to this? Or is it something you've always been? Or was there a turning point? Because it just feels like the floodgates have opened and you're like, no, I am not waiting anymore. Like, was there something that happened? What inspired this?
Okay, I'm super happy you asked that. So yes, turning points. I've had many turning points or climaxes, I like to say, right? So there's been lots of things in my past that I have gone through that have been different, smaller turning points. But I didn't fully take, what do you want to call it? Advantage of the opportunity that was given to me, which totally a manifestation thing too, right? Like we can get slapped in the face with opportunities, but when we don't take that aligned action, it takes us a little bit longer to get there. And what happened was actually, so fall of 22, I guess like December of 22, things had happened in my marriage where at that point, it was another point, which there had been many points, but there was another point where I was like, divorce is happening now. This is ridiculous. I'm not dealing with this anymore. And then I found out a couple weeks later, I was pregnant again. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I'm not leaving now because I can't even work. And maybe this, and I used that against myself in the past when I had my other kids too. We had every single time we had been on the verge of being like, or me getting the courage to leave. And then I would be pregnant. And it was like, seriously. And so then it would mess with my mind of like, well, does that mean I'm supposed to stay then? Is God telling me I have to stay? Blah, blah. And when it happened this time, I just decided to let myself be and allow myself to rest during that and use that as time for clarity. Because I had already kind of done, like I've been doing coaching for a long time as far as being the client. And so I have become to realize the value in resting and letting myself to gain clarity on stuff. And so instead of really forcing anything one way or another, I'm like, I'm just going to let myself sit and think. And during the pregnancy, that time to rest, so much clarity. I was like, I'm not going to make this pregnancy mean I have to stay, and I'm not going to make it mean I have to go either, but I'm going to see what happens. And so I let that time, because again, I'm sick, I'm not working, I'm not doing anything. And I just let myself connect with myself and what I want and what my desires are. And I just, like, for a while, when I was super, super sick, I remember my husband was saying, you know, I really think you should go back to being a stay-at-home mom. Like, don't go back to coaching massages once we have the baby. And at the time when I was throwing up, I was like, that's such a good idea. Like, I'm so on for that. But at the time, I was like sick. Then one day I woke up and I wasn't sick anymore, at least not to that extent. And suddenly it was like I instantly hit every desire. Like I felt like me again, and I knew exactly what I wanted. But I had like let myself rest and allow myself to like receive that and let myself sit in that. And then from that point, because that was like 6 months into the pregnancy, and then I just kept letting myself feed that desire and just really like, again, let myself come first, because there's things like I have become a different person throughout my marriage where I stood up for myself more. I didn't take as much crap. Certain, like the dynamic definitely changed. And I just let myself step into that more and keep trusting myself and say, you know what? Because a lot of the things that people say, I come from a very religious family. My parents totally supportive of my divorce, but extended family and grandparents and aunts, they think that the divorce is totally terrible. And they think that it's such a mistake. And I just decided that, you know what? The mistake is not the divorce. The mistake was the marriage. Because I didn't want it in the first place. But I was a young girl who thought that that was my only option. And I made that choice out of feeling like terrible unworthiness, that this is all I could get. Again, not to say that my ex-husband is this terrible person, but we are not meant for each other whatsoever. And it was just in general, not the thing that I wanted to, but I thought I had to. I was guilty for having sex before marriage. I was feeling really unworthy. Like I made all these choices from like out of a terrible reason to make a decision. And now it's just, now I have the courage to say, this is what I want. And I really leaned into the reason of just because I want to. Why do you want to get a divorce? Because I want to. Why do you want to go to the retreat? Because I want to. And so it was just that time where I like really let myself. And then because of that, yeah, things just, and then I noticed that as I was feeling better, and then even after baby was born, there were a few of opportunities where I could have said, I'm done, this is it. And I still kind of noticed myself. But then one day I remember he asked me to wear my ring again, and I put it on, and I just felt like poison was coursing through my body. And I'm like, and I instantly was brought back to that 19-year-old self of me who had that same feeling when I was saying yes to dating him, being with him, and continuing a relationship. And I looked at the ring and I'm like, I can't do this to myself anymore. I'm not doing it. And so I took the ring off and I just said, I'm done. And this is it. And had to lean into that discomfort and really be there for myself, my 19-year-old self, my now me self, my future self. Like every version of Hales needed to be held and supported in that moment. And so I don't know if I fully answered your question. Because again, I feel like there could be all things dissected.
100%.
Really, that was what it was. And then from that, like those few things, but that moment where I was like, I just saw myself doing it. I'm like, yep, I'm not doing it anymore. And I focused on the times that when I had change, what was I doing? And I really just celebrated that. And then from then on, it was like being willing to have the courage, being willing to have the courage, being willing to have the courage, being willing to believe in myself, because for God's sakes, I have not believed in myself in so long that I could do anything. And it's so sad. And when I like look at it and think about it, so it's just like me first, what I want. And I just am overthinking it selfish too. Like I'm just over it.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. I mean, there's like so much wisdom in that, and like the whole journey, the story, right? It's just like, there's so many pieces I could pull from that I want to talk about.
I know.
I'll sum it up. So I think this is such an amazing example just from the start of like the willingness to rest, and those moments where you think you're being pulled away and you're like, I can't do it. Or let's say you're exhausted, or there's so much going on, or even you have a lull in clients and it just seems like things aren't picking up for a minute, or you get pregnant or you're sick, right? These moments that like we feel like are out of our control, but are sometimes an opportunity from the universe to slow way down. And when you give yourself actual permission to rest, the clarity that can come from that, right? Because it's just like it lets everything kind of settle so that you can see things so clearly. And had you not given that gift to yourself, you may not be here. And I see so many people, women specifically, who resist when they have to rest. They resist it so much that they're not actually resting, right? And so it's like you can't get the wisdom that can come from that. So that is amazing. And look what unfolded. And then I love this, like, just because I want to. And I want to like give this gift that Hales gave to us, to the listeners, of like how, or just this question. I want to pose this question to you, like, how often do you let yourself do something just because you want to? Like, what if we let ourselves have that gift, give ourselves permission to do that more often? It's like, look what's unfolded as an effect of that. You're just like creating the life of your dreams. You're becoming unstoppable. You're creating the business of your dreams. It's like you're just stepping into this powerful, powerful being.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And if I could say one more thing, I was going to say that now I'm to the point where I'm not scared to do something. I'm scared if I don't. Like you just got done saying, like, I wouldn't be here. I actually will have random times where I suddenly think, what if I wouldn't have gone to the retreat? And I instantly start having an actual panic attack, because I think about, like, if I had not gone to the retreat, oh my God, I would never have stepped into, I would have come back. Who knows? I probably would have been like feeling really like worthless and everything, and then just gone back to my husband again and moved back in. Like there's so many things, and that scares me to be that person where it's like, I don't regret anything anymore. And I look at it as like, how am I going to feel not only if I do this, but if I don't do this, how will I feel? And like, then it scares me. I'm like, oh God, I'm figured out resource. So I need to make this happen. Whatever it is I'm doing, it needs to happen because And if anyone ever feels like they selfish is because they want to, I please hear this. It is not selfish. Again, earlier you talked about your mom and how she didn't show this. That was something I said at the retreat too, that I want my girls to see. I don't want to be the mom who says, you can do anything you want and you put your mind in, you believe it and you can create it. No, I want them to see it. They will see that I got on the plane. I did what was best for me in my marriage, even though they might not be all about it right now. But one day they will see, yep, mom put herself first. Otherwise, again, if we go back and say, I didn't do this stuff and decided to stay and go down that track for like 10 years, how more depressed, really, miserable, and just like the life sucked out of me even more. Like, no, I'm going to be able to give my girls everything. And then they're going to know that they can give everything to themselves. And it's just, it's amazing.
What an example of what is possible, Hales. I mean, thank you for being an inspiration. And I'm just curious, if you were to talk to either your past self, maybe right before you were thinking about the divorce and thinking about going to the retreat and you were probably scared, or if you were to think about talking to the listeners who are in a similar place where they're on the cusp of wanting change and they have things that they want to do, but they're just terrified of taking the leap, what advice would you give to them? And I'm just curious, like, what's unfolded? What kind of wisdom has unfolded, or what have you recognized happens when you actually do take the leap?
I think in a simple sentence, or like when you break it down, it's you are so much more powerful than you realize. And I know that's kind of a fluffy saying, and sometimes it takes a few opportunities for us to really feel that to our bones. And then, because once you do, that's, you start to take action. But really look for how you are and what you've done in the past, because that's essentially what I was doing. But that's really is just trusting yourself. And that's why I'm all about women connecting yourself. And again, bringing it back to the energy. It's not just about what to do exactly or step by step. Same thing that you teach. It's not just about here's the exact money thing to do. It's like, no, connect to yourself as much as possible, really trust and lean in. And yes, you might fail, but know that if you totally fail and you totally mess up, that you're going to have your back anyway. And you can look out and see how much everyone else has messed up and like put yourself in that pool of everybody else and be like, this is totally fine. Like, it's not a big deal and I can keep moving forward, but and giving yourself that space to like, and like, no, it's okay that you feel fear. So it's just trust and knowing it's okay. And you are so powerful, like you don't even know. And you might regret it if you don't do it. But your desires, like we talked about, they are there for a reason. So just keep trusting them and keep trusting yourself and just keep moving. And then like logically just then evaluate and say, okay, this kind of didn't work, so I'm going to try this. Not like don't ever go off of logic ever, never ever. But you can always like, I did mess up, but I'm going to evaluate. And then you're just going to keep getting better and better at trusting yourself and connecting and knowing what you want. And I know that for a lot of people, it kind of seems like I can sit here and talk all day about it. And honestly, it's just something you have to start putting into practice because until you start really taking it and doing it, again, there were so many opportunities I missed. But as long as you can I'm going to keep repeating, connecting back to yourself, see what your desires really are, and then stand by those desires and know that you're going to have your back no matter if someone rejects you, makes you feel stupid, makes you feel embarrassed, says this is ridiculous. You say, I don't care. I want to. And so I'm going to. And it's with that energy, right? Pay attention to the energy. I'm not necessarily forcing everything. I'm like, everybody get the fuck out of my way. I'm doing this right now. Like, there's that too. But it's like also just like, no, this is scary for me. This is a lot for me. I do want to cry. but I'm doing this anyway because there is a reason. And I know right now it's not working and I don't want to be here. And then you do, and there's going to keep being scary times, but you keep doing it. And then it feels so amazing. It feels so powerful. And you meet so many amazing women and you do amazing things. And yeah.
Yes.
So that's all I have to say.
I love it. That's amazing advice. Amazing wisdom. So what's next for you from this place of leaning into your desires, going after it? I'm curious, what's the vision? I mean, I know it a little bit because of the retreat, but what do you see?
Okay, well, I have huge visions and I'm totally all about letting myself talk about them now. I mean, when you look at my far out vision, I am making $1 million a year and I am featured in Vogue. Like Whitney and I talked about that, how to be famous. Yes, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be featured in Vogue and I'm going to not be living here. I'm going to be living elsewhere half of the year. So I've got big dreams as far as that goes. But even in the next year, this year, I'm going to make $80,000. And even right now, I want to invite, I'm focusing on inviting 10 women into my my one-to-one program for a full year. And there's just all these, it doesn't feel super big, which is so crazy, especially after going, it all feels so simple. Even when I say I'm going to make $80,000, I don't even think about but how am I going to do that? I'm no, I'm going to test this out first. I'm going to test inviting this many women in for this amount and this because I'm excited about this. And then if that doesn't work, I'm going to, change and do this. But my vision for myself is just more of this feeling. The only few things I have for what specifically is yep, I'm making $80,000 and I'm going to keep growing the Orgasm Babe one-to-one program and working with women one-to-one and just keep living into myself and following the little desires and opportunities that come and building my community and just living into her. And yeah, I it's I know, but it's I don't even know because that's kind of where I have my mindset now where it's I've got the vision for how I dress and who I am and all the things. But at the same time, it's I'm not going to worry about how it happens. And there's going to be so many surprises. And I know it's going to be even more amazing than I can even imagine. But bottom line, I'm a luxury orgasm coach with an amazing business and I'm going to have my own place and beautiful apartment. And I'm just going to be living the life that I have always wanted to live. And
yes!
It starts now.
100. It's already started.
Yes, 100%.
It's already started.
Yes.
You have that foundation built. You went through the most, the Harvard of creating this in the past 2 months. So I just want to acknowledge you. I want to say you're such an inspiration. Oh my gosh. And we'll have to have you on the podcast again in a year to be okay, where are we now? Yep. Right? Because you just really started diving into this work with me at least. And then you just signed up for the money manifestation movement. So we're going to be able to work on this for a year together. And I'm super excited support you in it. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So I know everybody's wondering, okay, this business sounds amazing. I would love help with this. So first thing is, I want to hear who is this program for that you're filling right now? Because there may be, I'm imagining listeners that would be a perfect fit for the work that you do. Who's that for? And then how can we find you?
Yeah. So this is for the woman who, it doesn't matter if you're married or single, because to me, this work, even if we're focusing on just the sex part, it is for the woman who is single. This starts way before being with anybody, because this is about you as the woman, right? So any woman that is basically faking orgasms or not getting the pleasure that she wants or feeling like she doesn't know what she's doing, not feeling confident and just kind of feeling like she's there to please her man. And she just knows that she's just tired, exhausted, and not showing up how she wants to be. She just feels like this blob of existence basically, and not as a woman. And so that's who it's for, because then when they come into the program, it is that one-to-one support where we are, again, yes, we are going to focus on creating those orgasms for you, but we are going to be focusing on you and how you want to show up and how you want to be as a woman when it comes to sex and in your relationship and in your marriage. So you're not just taking what you're getting, right? Like, oh yeah, he's satisfied, but I'm sitting over here faking it, and you're not getting anything what you want. And it's almost like you feel yourself slipping further and further and further away because of it, and like digging this hole for yourself. So any woman that just wants to step out of that and wants help specifically with sex, but then also wants to just embody and become that queen and that femme fatale and just that whole essence where she is a woman who asks for what she wants and gets what she wants. So
yes, I love it. And I will say and this is why I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize this idea, at least for this name. I know that you've been coaching on this for a while, but I had no idea it kind of like all came together at the retreat, because when we were doing hot seat coaching, the way we do it at the retreat is we open the container where it's very supportive and everybody's kind of bringing their own wisdom in. So I do a lot of the hot seat coaching, but then we'll kind of open the floor and, let everyone kind of throw in ideas, throw in thoughts. And Hales, oh my gosh, when she was coaching, we were coaching on like someone on relationship, and it was just like the wisdom that came through. It's just like, it is who you are. This is your expertise. So yeah, I highly recommend, if this is something that you have a desire around, like reach out to Hales. Where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. So it's just The Orgasm Babe. There's no dots in between. There's no dashes. There's nothing. It's just The Orgasm Babe.
I love it. I love it. We will definitely link that up in the show notes too, so you can all go follow Hales. And thank you so much for being an inspiration of what is possible. You are the living emanation of the Orgasm Babe and all that it stands for. And you just powerful, empowered woman is what you are. And
yes.
It's incredible. It's magnetic. And I'm so excited to continue the journey with you. And thank you so much for sharing all, your story, your wisdom, everything. There's just so many golden nuggets all throughout this podcast. I can't wait to re-listen to it.
Me too. I know I'm going to need it one day for myself again.
Right? I love it, Hale. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.